Welcome to the FX Options Weekly Outlook, a weekly podcast series hosted by Jason Ayres, a top instructor, trader, and founder of OptionSource.net. Join Jason as he discusses the latest trends in the Forex market with a look ahead on the US dollar versus the major currencies using the most commonly used technical indicators.
Well, hi there and welcome to the ISC FX Options Weekly Outlook for March 22nd, 2010. As always, this is Jason Ayres of OptionSource.net. Let's take a look at a weekly chart of the US dollar index. This is a great way to gain perspective as to how the US dollar has been trading against a basket of currencies. Well, the dollar index slid lower over the last couple of weeks with a test of the upper range of our 79.5 focal zone. With this level having been identified as an important support, it was not surprising that the index posed a strong reversal, closing the week back within that 80.82 focal zone. Now, this may be the beginning of another leg higher. However, there is strong overhead resistance at 82. The daily chart reflects the strong close to last week's trading activity and also reflects the importance of a close above 81 in lending further credibility to a move higher. The US dollar continued to lose ground against the Canadian dollar as the CDD tested as low as 100.60. We expect strong support within the 101 focal zone. However, until the pair value breaks back above 102, the US dollar remains weak against the Canadian dollar. Should we see a break above 102, the 104 and a half focal zone would be a logical first target. Well, the US dollar and the Japanese yen has essentially remained range-bound within the last couple of weeks, trending sideways within this 90-91 focal zone. We also suspect that there is some respect being shown to this trend line that has been in place for the last couple of months as well. Now, at this point, failure to break that trend line is likely to result with a retest of this 88.5 to 89 focal zone. If we happen to see a break above 91, we will be targeting this 92-93 focal zone to the upside. Well, the US dollar has regained some ground against the euro as the EUI is now back within that 73-74 focal zone. 74 remains an important overhead resistance, and rejection here may signal a test back down into this 71-72 focal zone. At this point, however, a break above 74 is likely to yield a continuation towards the upside, with 75 being a logical target. Well, the US dollar dipped lower against the pound as seen here in the ISC FX options pair value BPX before finding support at the 65 and a half focal zone and subsequently finishing the week strong. Now, at this point, we may be seeing the start of another leg higher. However, we would be looking at targeting the 67 to 68 focal zone as an important overhead resistance should the pair value continue in an upward direction. Well, the US dollar continues to trend lower against the Australian dollar as seen here in the AUX. Now, although the pair value closed to the upside towards the end of the week, the 109 to 110 focal zone remains an important overhead resistance. Should the pair value reject here, we may very well see a move to the downside, in which case we would be targeting this 106, 107 focal zone. If the pair value breaks and closes above 110, our next logical target would be the 111 to 112 focal zone. Let's take a look at a few of our key points. First of all, the US dollar index spent a couple of days testing that 79.5 focal zone, but closed the week strong back within the 80-81 focal zone. This may be the beginning of another leg higher, with 82 remaining an important overhead resistance. The CDD tested 100.60 before closing the week with a strong reversal. We expect a strong support within the 100 to 101 focal zone. However, until the pair value breaks above 102, the trend remains down. The YUK spent last week consolidating within the 90-91 focal zone. We cannot rule out the possibility of this being a bull flag. However, this level remains an important area of resistance. We would need to see a break above 91 to lend credibility to any continuation higher. The EUI staged a strong reversal at the end of last week, now retesting 74. This is an important area of resistance. However, we may be seeing the start of another leg higher. 75 remains an important resistance level to the upside. The BPX slipped lower early last week but reversed by week's end to show some signs of strength. 68 remains an important upside target. The AUX continued to trend down but showed some signs of reversal last Friday. Until we see a break above 110, the path of least resistance is down. And this has been your ISE FX Options Weekly Outlook for March 22nd, 2010. As always, this is Jason Ayres of OptionSource.net. Thanks for joining me here this week. We'll see you here next week.
Thank you for participating in this week's session. Please join us again next week. For trading ideas, exchange rates, webinars, news, and commentary, visit www.fxoptions.com. Become an OptionSource.net member. Visit www.optionsource.net. ISE FX options can be easily traded through all options-enabled brokerage accounts. These exchange-listed securities are cash-settled in U.S. dollars and have a European-style exercise.